Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. I'm your host Rob, and this video, another viewer request that's been out there for some time, and I said I would do it. So here it is, rewind review of The Fast and the Furious. Okay guys, welcome back. The Fast and the Furious. And a couple of viewers requested that I do the series rewind review some time ago. I said I would, and I just hadn't gotten to it yet. And I decided, you know what? Again, since all these shows that I normally review are on break, this is a perfect time to get started on the series. I haven't seen the latest installment, but by the time I get there, I would have seen it already. I actually want to purchase it. I do have all movies on Blu-ray. I am a fan of the series. And we're going to start off with the first installment, which is the original Fast and the Furious. When I first saw this movie, I thought it was cool. You know, I was really into the cars at the time. I thought some of these cars are just very unique. And at that time, I didn't really know who Paul Walker was. Vin Diesel I was a little bit more familiar with. But outside of that, a lot of the actors, with the exception of Michelle Rodriguez, wasn't too familiar with them. Now, my overall thoughts on the movie is I thought it was solid. You know, it wasn't a great movie, but it certainly wasn't bad. You know, it was entertaining. I still pop it in from time to time. But for the most part, I think what bothered me about this movie was Paul Walker. And I know that sounds horrible. God rest his soul. But I just was never convinced. He never convinced me as a guy that was tough enough to really deal with that kind of world. And, you know, blonde hair, blue eyes. And I understand he was a cop. And then maybe that's why it was an easier sell, because he was a cop. But I do think that, you know, Vin Diesel was the star of the movie, obviously. And, you know, at that time, the ladies loved him and the whole 9 yards. It was just one of those movies that was really for the teenagers. Really for those high school juniors and seniors who are just getting their ride and they want to take their girls to the prom in their new Honda Civic, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And that's what the movie was aimed at. And I appreciate it now because I guess it's a little bit of nostalgia. And, you know, it's like it takes me back to my younger days when I used to get in my little hoopty and try and go and impress the girls and stuff like that. But honestly, you know, the heist portion of the movie I thought was better. You know, when you find out, and you kind of knew going in that Vin Diesel and his crew were involved in the heist. I mean, it was really no surprise to that. I did like the conflict though between Brian and Vince. That always cracked me up because, you know, Vince didn't like him from day one. Vince had a crush on you know, on Vin Diesel's sister, or Dominic's sister. I forget her name. It escapes me at the moment in the show, in the movie. And I'm trying to remember right now as I speak. And no matter what he did, I mean, obviously she had the hots for Brian. So that was a nice little conflict there. Michelle Rodriguez, I know people are gonna laugh. You know, there's some movies where I absolutely love her, and there's some movies where I'm just not crazy about her. This was one of them. She was just as manly as Vin Diesel in this movie. Letty was just as manly as Dominique. She was. She could probably kick the ass of the other two guys. Vince, I think she'd have a hard time with, but the other two guys, she could probably whoop their ass. And it's just like, you know, for when you're talking about the tough guy and his girl, you don't really. It's very not often that Hollywood plays the tough girl and the tough guy being a couple. It's usually the tough guy and the girl who's maybe strong but still very feminine, and she didn't really strike me as that in this movie at all. So I wasn't really into that whole thing, like with them. Like I think she's very attractive. She's just not attractive when she acts like a dude. Put it that way. So so that relationship I wasn't too crazy about. But the car races in the beginning of the movie were great. That opening scene is awesome. Not the opening scene, but the first part of the movie when Brian first arrives to the races and he's trying to get involved. That to me was great. Incredible. And I think I would have liked to have seen more of that. You know, there wasn't too much of that after the fact. You got the race wars later on in the movie, but that's kind of like I like the whole night scene, blocking off the streets, neon lights, loud music, chicks half naked. I mean, that's what made the movie for me, was that scene right there. But the heist stuff was fun. The way they robbed the trucks, I thought was very cool. At that time, that was a very, very cool, a stunt slash special effects. It's dated now compared to what we've seen, but I think at that time it was phenomenal. It was great to watch. And then to see everything play out, like when you saw the kind of relationship that Brian, developed with Dominique, and it was I think it was good work on how they made it seem, or how they kind of make you sympathize for Dominic, even though he's a robber. He's basically robbing people. Somehow they make you feel for him, and that I think is pretty clever. I think it's pretty clever to take a character who's actually a villain and flip it on the audience to make you actually not only feel for him but cheer for him. So in that respects, I think that's good, because you think about it, at the end of the movie, you're concerned about Dominique and his crew and all this and all that. Meanwhile, they're pulling highway robberies, they're committing crime, and we're cheering for them. So I think that was brilliant. And that's why I think the heist portion of the movie, to me, worked well. And I think that's why. So for me overall, that's why it kind of gets a solid for me, because the beginning scene with the race on the street was completely awesome, and then the story with the heist, the relationship with Brian and Dominique, and I think that was very interesting. I thought it was a very interesting dynamic of how they made Dominic Toretto and his crew, even though they were highway robbers and they were complete bad guys, how they made you sympathize and cheer for them. It's not very often you go into a theater cheering for a villain. It does not happen very often. So I think in that sense, it was kind of brilliant the way they set that up. But the first movie was great. I enjoyed it. I have it on Blu-ray. I really do like the series, and the first one to me was a good beginning. And I liked the movie. Overall, it was a solid movie. And that's it. That's all I can say about it. So. Anyway, guys, that's it for this Rewind review. That was viewer requested. I hope you guys enjoy it. I will continue the series next week. We will do Too Fast, Too Furious. We'll discuss that, and then we'll go from there. Take it easy, guys. See you next video.